Greetings and welcome to Learn Notes for Mac and iOS, a video tutorial from the MacU.com. In this section, we'll be focusing on the Notes app for Mac. It comes installed on every new Mac, and it's going to be available in your Applications folder. To get started, let's go over setting up the account or accounts where our notes are going to be stored. If I go up to the Notes menu and Accounts, the Internet Accounts System Preference pane is opened up. I'm signed into both an iCloud and a Google account here. The iCloud Notes folder is appearing in the Notes sidebar because Notes is activated here. My iCloud Notes will sync with any of my other Apple devices that also have Notes activated in their iCloud settings. Under the Google account, Notes is not activated. If I check this, then a second Notes folder is added under a Gmail section here in the Notes sidebar. So you could work with multiple cloud accounts activated with Notes. For this tutorial, we're just going to stick with iCloud, so I'll turn off Notes for the Google account. In the Notes app Preferences, we can enable an On My Mac account. Notes saved under this section will only be saved on your Mac. They won't sync with any other devices. This can be a nice option if you have a set of notes that you'll only need while using your Mac. Note that if you're using multiple accounts, a default can be set here. With iCloud set as my default account, when I use the menu bar or a keyboard shortcut to create a new note, it's going to automatically be saved into my iCloud Notes folder. I'm going to call this the first note. Notice that the first line of a note serves as its title here in the Notes list. If I bring up my iPhone now, we can see that the first note has synced with both devices because they're signed into the same iCloud account and Notes is activated in iCloud settings. Next up, we'll look at adding new notes and folders. There are several ways to add a new note. In the previous lesson, I used the keyboard shortcut, which is Command-N. We can also go up to the File menu and choose New Note, or use the New Note button, which is up here in the toolbar. Right-click on a note, or in the notes list, and we're able to duplicate the selected note or create a brand new note. We can also right-click to delete a note. Notes can also be deleted with a press of the delete key while they're selected, or with a two-finger swipe left on your trackpad. As notes are deleted, they're moved to the recently deleted folder, while they'll remain for 30 days. If we delete a note from this folder, it's removed immediately and can't be recovered. Notes can also be pinned to the top of the list. To pin a note, swipe right with your trackpad, or right-click on the note and choose Pin. When new notes are added now, they're going to appear below my pinned notes. We can switch from List View to Gallery View up here. If you have a lot of images or sketches in your notes, Gallery View might be a better option than the List View. Use the keyboard shortcuts Command-1 and Command-2 to quickly switch between List and Gallery View. From up in the View menu, we can choose to sort notes by date edited, date created, or alphabetically by title. Your default sorting method can be changed in Notes Preferences. Now let's add a new folder. We can do this from the New Folder button here at the bottom of the sidebar, or from the File menu. Notice the keyboard shortcut for a new folder is Shift-Command-N. Once added, I can name the new folder. I'm going to call this one Travel. I can delete or rename any folder that I've added, but the original Notes folder can't be renamed or removed. Just drag and drop to move notes into the new folder. When a folder is selected, new notes will be added into it. Another way to add a new note is to do so from another app. If I jump into Safari and say I'd like to save this paragraph to a note, I just need to select the text that I want to include, right-click, go to the Share menu and Notes. I can add the selected text to an existing note or select New Note. Click Save, and that text now exists as a new note. It's possible to share selected text or images from many different apps to a new or existing note. Here in the first note, we just have one line of text, which is presented as the title of the note. Move down into the body of the note, and as I start typing, we can see that the text is formatted differently. Click on the text formatting button here, and we can see that we are now using the body text style. I can quickly change this to any of the style options here. Move the cursor up to the first line in the note, and I'm able to change the style of the title. In Notes Preferences, we can set what style a new note is going to start with. So if you prefer to have the first line of a note not be in large, bolder text, switch to the body style in this menu. Now in each new note, the text that I enter will all be in the body style. Of course, I can then use the formatting button to change to a different style, or set it to be bold, italic, underlined, or strike through. Switch to one of the list style options, and when we hit the return or enter key, the next list item will automatically be started. If you already have a list of items, select them to turn it into a bulleted, dashed, or numbered list. Back in Notes Preferences, notice that we also have a default text size option. This will adjust the size of all the text styles. So if larger text makes it easier for you to read your notes, it can be easily achieved here. On a Mac, we also have access to the Fonts panel. If I select this body text and go up to the Format menu and Fonts, I can bring up the Fonts panel. This lets me choose a different font than the default here in Notes. I'm going to set the selected paragraph to the chalkboard font. Notice we can also use the font panel to adjust the size of the font. Back in the Format menu, we can also show the Colors panel. So I'll set this paragraph to appear in red. So we sort of have basic text style controls from up in the Format button in the toolbar. And for more detailed text styling, we can use the font and color panels that are accessible from the Format menu. Checklists are one of the Notes app's best features. In the last lesson, we saw how to format text into a bulleted, dashed, or numbered list. This can certainly serve a purpose, but with a checklist, we're able to quickly reorder items in the list and, most importantly, check items off. To create a checklist, just click the button up in the toolbar, which will add the first item. I can then enter the text for it and hit the return key to add the second item, and so on. To end a checklist, hit the return key twice. We can then enter standard body text below. Click inside the circles to check items off. Currently in Notes Preferences, I have automatically sort checked items activated. So as items are checked, they're automatically sent to the bottom of the list. Turn this off, and items are going to stay in place after being checked. We can create list hierarchies by indenting the list with a press of the Tab key. Use Shift-Tab to move back out. To just add a line break within a checklist to create some space, press Ctrl-Return. That will skip one line, but then let me continue with the checklist below. To reorder items in a checklist, click and hold for a moment on the item's text, then drag it up or down in the list. We can also do this with the keyboard shortcuts Control-Command-Up or Down arrow. To convert a list or paragraph that's already been entered to a checklist, simply select it and click the checklist button. Each line of the selected text will become a checklist item. To quickly check off multiple or all the items in a list, select the lines that you want to check off, go to the Format menu, and mark as checked. Or use the shortcut Shift-Command-U. Checklists will, of course, sync to your other devices. So when I actually head to the grocery store, I can use my iPhone to check off items in the grocery list as I pick them up. If you need to organize ideas or information visually, a table can be added into a note. When I click the Table button, a 2x2 table is added. Click inside each cell to enter text. Use the Tab key to quickly move the cursor from cell to cell. Hit Tab while in the last cell, and a new row is added below. For this table, I'm going to want 3 columns and 5 rows. Click on the tabs above and to the left side of the table to edit the number of columns and rows. Next, I'm going to enter 3 categories across the top of this table. Then I'll select those cells with a click and drag and make that text bold. From the Format menu, I can also align these categories with the center of their cells. And I'm also going to bring up the Color panel and make the category text green. Below, I can fill out the rest of the information that I want to add to this table. Another way to create a table is to convert text that already exists, like this list of states, which I can do by selecting this text and going to the Format menu and Table. I can now build a table around this list. Tables that we make here in Notes can be copy and pasted into other apps like Pages or Numbers, and vice versa. So if you build a table here in Notes that you then want to add to a larger project, you won't need to repeat that effort in the other app. We're able to add clickable links to Notes in a few different ways. First, I'll just copy and paste a web address in from Safari. After I do that, the link still isn't clickable. I want to be able to click on it and be taken to a web page. To do that, right or Control click on the link and choose Make Link. Now the link is underlined, and as I mouse over it, the cursor changes. Click and we're jumped to that page in Safari. We can also add a link to text that we've already entered into a note. So to make this text a clickable link, I'll need to select it, go to the Edit menu, and Add Link. We can also use the shortcut Command K. This method of adding a link to text will work in a lot of apps like Pages and TextEdit. Paste the link into this box, and now that text is clickable within the note. Right-click on the link and we're able to edit or remove the link from the text. One more way to add a link into a note is to share it from Safari. If I want to add this page to a note, I could of course copy and paste the link in like we did earlier, but I could also go to the Share menu and select Notes. From here I can add this link to a new note or any of my existing ones. I'll add this to the Travel note. The best part of adding a link this way is that we get a preview image and summary, so it won't just appear as a single text link in the note. We can also add text here along with the link. Here's how that link appears now in my note. I really like adding links to my notes in this way. It's fast, and the previews make it much easier to remember why I added it into the note. If this style of preview is using up too much space, right-click on them in the note and choose View as Small Images. Images, files, audio clips, maps, and more can be added to a note as an attachment. First, I'll attach a PDF file to this note just by drag and drop from the Finder. To view the full PDF, just double-click on it and it's opened in the Preview app. Right-click on the attachment in Notes, and I'm able to share it, rename it, quick look it, or open it. Click on the Photos button up in the toolbar, and we can attach images or video clips from our photo library. Just drag and drop these in from the Photos browser. If you have an iPhone or iPad that's plugged into your Mac, we can attach a photo scanner sketch directly from the iPhone to the note. I'll select Photo, and the camera app will launch over on the iPhone. Snap a picture, and it's attached to the note here on the Mac. Choosing the Sketch option will open up Markup on my iPhone. Learn more about the sketch and document scanning options in the Notes for iOS section of this tutorial. Right-click on Attachments, and we can choose View as Large Images to get a better look. If I jump into my Maps app, we're able to share a map location to a note, just like we did in the last lesson with the Safari link. This Share to Notes option will also work from the Photos app, Contacts, and more. From up in the View menu in Notes, we can open the Attachments browser. This is going to display all the attachments saved in all my notes divided by type. Double-click on an attachment here to open it. Right-click and we can choose to show the attachment within the note that contains it. You can view and hide the Attachments browser quickly with the keyboard shortcut Command 3. From within the Notes app, we're able to edit PDFs and image attachments with Markup. Let's start with this PDF. As I hover over it, a small down arrow appears in the upper right. Click and the Markup panel opens. Across the top, we have several tools available. The first two are Sketch and Draw. With the Sketch tool, if I draw a general shape, like an ellipse, it's going to be automatically corrected to a smooth version of that shape. The Draw tool, on the other hand, is freeform only. The shape that I draw is the one I'm stuck with. Both can be moved and resized after being created. Next, from up in the Shapes tool, we have several options. When selected, that shape is added and then can be resized and adjusted. Use the line thickness, border, and fill color controls to adjust the look of your shapes or sketches. Use the Text tool to add your own captions, corrections, or ideas to a PDF or image. From the Formatting button up here, we can adjust the font size, color, and style of our text. The Signature tool is great for PDFs that need to be signed. After creating a signature, which can be done from writing it on your trackpad or scanning a paper copy, they're saved up here in Markup. Select one and it will be applied to the PDF. The signature can then be repositioned and resized to fit. Finally, on the far right of the Markup toolbar, we can rotate or crop the image. On a PDF, this will apply to the currently visible page. Usually, rotate and crop are more likely to be needed on an image attachment. Click Done to save your markups. Markups will remain editable, so they can be removed or changed if we come back into the Markup panel. If you have a note or notes that contain sensitive information, it can be a really good idea to lock or secure them. So I've created a new note that contains login information for a couple different accounts, as well as details for a credit card. Obviously, I'm going to want to secure this information so only I can view and edit it. So to lock this note, I need to select it and click the lock tool up here. Or I can just right click and choose Lock Note. Next, I'm going to need to create a note's password. This password will apply to all of my locked notes in the Notes app, not only this note. So this is going to need to be a pretty good password. Probably at least 8 characters long that contains letters, numbers, and symbols. We can add a hint here as well. If you've already created a Notes password, it's going to need to be entered, or Touch ID will need to be used if available. Once that's set, I can lock all my secure notes from up in the toolbar. Or when the Notes app is quit, they will all be locked automatically. To view a locked note, I'm going to need to enter the note's password. Or from Notes Preferences, allow Touch ID to be used to unlock notes. Notice that we can also change or reset our Notes password here. To reset the Notes password, you're going to need the password for your iCloud account. I do not recommend making the Notes password the same as your iCloud account password. So now I'm able to quickly open my locked notes with Touch ID. Something to keep in mind is that notes with video, audio, PDF, or file attachments won't be able to be locked. We also can't lock notes that are being shared with other people. We'll talk more about that in the collaboration lesson. Up in the far right of the Notes toolbar, we have a search field. Click in here, and some preset searches are then listed. If I select notes with checklists, only the 2 that I have that contain checklists are then displayed. Click on the X to cancel the search and see all your notes again. You can also do this with locked notes, attachments, drawings, and more. Of course, we can also enter a custom term or phrase. This will search the entire body of every note. So if I enter the word tree, any note or attachment that contains that term is displayed. And within this note, every instance of the word tree is then highlighted. We can also search for a certain time period, like a year or month. If I enter October 2020, one result appears. Notice that it's contained in the recently deleted folder. So search will turn up items that you've deleted from the main notes lists, but have not yet been permanently removed. If I search for the term Visa, nothing shows up, even though that term is included in the locked password and logins note. Even if I unlock this note, search won't turn up any results from it. So secured notes can't be searched at all. As the amount of notes that you've created increases, the search function can become more and more useful for finding notes or certain details within a note. So it's good to remember that the search field is available up here. Tags are a new feature available in the Notes and Reminders apps that provide a quick way to categorize or organize notes or reminders. These tags are different than the tags that we can use in the Finder in macOS or the Files app on iOS. Those tags can be applied to files and folders. Tags and notes are applied simply by placing a hashtag symbol at the start of any word or term. Here in the sidebar, we can see a couple tags that have already been applied. I just have 2, Home Depot and Projects, which I applied using Notes for iOS. Tags will sync between your devices via iCloud. Click on a tag to view the notes that it's contained in. Click on multiple tags to only see notes that contain all the selected tags. Click again to deselect and see all your notes again. So now let's create a new note from this article in Safari. I'm going to save this note into my travel folder, but also apply the tag road trip. I'll also add this tag to another note that refers to road trip. So now when I select that tag, both those notes will come up. As more tags are added, we can create smart folders that will only contain notes with a certain set of tags. If I create one that contains the Home Depot and project tags, it will create the folder, and only the note or notes that contain both of those tags will appear within it. If I add both those tags to another note, it will immediately appear in that smart folder as well. Tags work very much the same in reminders. When you're creating or editing a reminder, we have an Add Tags field. For a few of the reminders in my home list, I'm going to add the tag Chores. That will add a tag section into the sidebar, and I can then click on them just like in Notes to view the reminders that contain each tag. As you add different tags and reminders, smart lists can be created, which are similar to smart folders in Notes but actually more powerful. When you're adding a new list, just check the Make It into Smart List box. Then in this menu, we can create smart lists using tags, but also utilize other parameters like date, time, location, and more. To apply multiple parameters to a list, just click the Add button here. I'm going to make a smart list that contains the chores and vacation tags, plus are assigned a high priority level. So for those that have a lot of notes or reminders, having the ability to utilize tags as well as smart folders or smart lists can really help with quickly being able to access only the items that you need to see at a certain time. We can share a note by using the Share button up here, which is similar to most other Mac apps and even the Finder. I'm able to share using Messages, Mail, or AirDrop. Click More, and the Extensions System Preference pane is opened up. In here, I'm able to add other apps to the Share menu, such as Day One, which is a journaling app. So adding notes to it on occasion could be a good idea. Once Day One is checked here, it's going to be available as an option when sharing from the Notes app. For more on extensions, take a look at the macOS Core Concepts tutorial. We can also share and collaborate directly with other users of the Apple Notes app using this button. When I click this, we get a few sharing options as well as a permission option. Here I can either allow those I invite to be able to make changes to the shared note or to only view the note. I'm going to stick with letting the invitee make changes. So now let's bring up the recipient's iPhone. I'm going to invite Drew using the Messages app. Once Drew accepts the invite, he's going to be able to open the note in his Notes app on the iPhone and then edit or add to the note. Those changes will then be synced and updated over on the Mac. So if you're planning something and want to work on it together with someone, collaborating on a note can be a good option. We're also able to collaborate like this in other Apple apps like Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. Under the File menu, we have an Import to Notes option. Select this to browse for the file to import. But only plain text, or RTF, or rich text files can be imported. RTF files are what's output when saving from the Text Edit app. We're not able to import a PDF, a Word document, or a Page documents into Notes. But I am able to import this outline file, which is a rich text document created in Text Edit. That gets placed into an Imported Files folder here in Notes. Of course, I can then move this to any of my other folders if needed. I'm able to edit and add to the imported note. There are other ways to import text into Notes. The most simple being just copy and paste. Text from any document, file, or web page can be copied and pasted directly into a note. We're also able to select a piece of text in another app, right-click, and then share to the Notes app. This is going to share only the selected text, not this full web page. I'm able to add this to a new note or an existing one. We're able to export notes as a PDF. This can be useful if you're wanting to share a note with a Windows user, but there are some limitations. I'm going to export this note as a PDF, and when I open up the PDF, notice the links that I shared to it are visible here, but they don't work when I click or double-click on them. If I export my trees note, the resulting PDF will look pretty good, but the PDF that was attached to the note only appears as a single image in the exported PDF. And the link to the map is not functional. So for the most part, you'll want to share notes using the Share menu. Sharing this trees note via mail will include all the text and the PDF attachment. Congrats, you've completed the Notes for Mac portion of the tutorial. If you haven't already, you'll probably want to take a look at the Notes for iOS portion. In many ways, it will be a review due to the apps being very similar in form and function. In fact, the Notes app for Mac is based off the iPad Notes app, so their design is very similar. Notice the 3-column layout on both. And we're able to hide the folders column on both the iPad and Mac. Despite the similarities, taking some time to learn the Notes for iOS interface and features can be a good idea. Thanks for watching, and enjoy using Notes for Mac.